You're listening to Until They Sleep, a podcast where two parents finally get to sit down and discuss all the different things that run through their heads every day because their four kids are finally asleep. Thanks for listening.
Hello and welcome to Until They Sleep. I am your host, Daniel.
And I'm Shantelle.
And today, yet again, as always, we welcome you and thank you for subscribing and listening and following us.
So, and if there's any like weird noises in the background, our 1-year-old dog has decided to join us in the room, so he might make some weird
Yeah,
noise.
he's the third edition, co-host extraordinaire, Bruce. Say hi to everybody.
Hyena. Bruce.
He's a little shy.
He's just looking at us.
Yeah, wagging his tail, so he's welcoming you and showing much love.
Yeah, we'll probably post a picture of him so you guys can see what it looks like.
and yeah, today it is not until they sleep. They are actually quite awake, running around. Hopefully, we'll be able to get this recorded without any interruptions.
Yeah. They did spend the good part of the afternoon playing with those giant balls, like inflatables that you can get inside of.
Yeah, they have like a little harness and handles. And
So they were having fun this afternoon.
Until the rain started
sprinkling. It started drizzling.
Yeah. So, welcome back, rain. But before that,
Got some yard work done.
Got some yard work done. Much needed.
Before the rain.
Yeah, my DNA kicked in and turned into a landscaper.
Pulling weeds. I know all of us.
Came naturally.
We were all out there pulling weeds.
Gave me flashbacks of being in the military, being in trouble. I was like, why am I pulling weeds?
I know. I heard you tell the kids, like, if you guys join the military, this is going to be one of your punishments.
Yeah. Believe me, I got stuck on those a couple of times on the weekends.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That was funny. Well, that was way back when, so. And then also, it was also like a punishment at my dad's house, too. Like, go pull weeds. Around the little bushes. We didn't have that much.
You didn't have that much, yeah.
But still, yeah. Because I made that joke. It's like, what did I do, Mama?
Yeah.
It's one of those moments. Like, what did I have kids for? That's what I have them for. They should be doing this without my help. It was backwards. The oldest one was just sitting there watching me sweat. And I'll be like, no, man. Get your butt over here and help me out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the little one, the 4-year-old, was kind of ordering you around.
Yeah, but she's good, though. She's still at the helpful age. So it's funny how when they're little, they always want to help.
Helpful, that's true. And then they reach a certain age, and that's just...
Yeah, it's just funny.
About it.
Yeah. It's been crazy. Yeah. So I got a weird phone call. I got a text on Friday, and it was more like, "Can we talk?" And I was like, "All right." And I was like, "Well, can I call you on my way to work? I'm running a little late. I got to get going." And they were like, "All right, well, yeah, we'll talk in a few." And they're like, "Well, I can't. I'm busy. Can we talk later on the day?" And they call me at your lunch. I was like, all right. Like, if I don't get to talk to you, I'll hit you up on the weekend. No problem. And then it was more of a, what's going on? I was like, no, I want to talk to you. I was like, okay. And in my back of my mind, I was like, this is a family member. And I'm like,
what family member? You don't talk to family.
I was like, crap.
Who?
Like, they found the podcast. I wonder how pissed off they are at the shit I said so far.
So this is your side of the family,
and
someone reached out.
Well, it's ours. You're married to me, so that makes it your family.
I know, but they
no.
Don't
I'm keeping you in suspense. Literally,
he's since Friday. He told me, somebody texted me, reached out to me, and I'm like, who? He's like, I'm not going to tell you till the podcast. I'm like, so all
just
these
to make
days,
it fun. Yeah,
waiting.
So then I finally I made the phone call, and it's like, can we video chat? And I was like,
chat.
Oh, yeah, sure. And as soon as I go into video chat, our daughter is like, and when were you going to tell me about this podcast?
Oh, it was the eldest?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not worried about her. I thought it was like someone that we actually don't talk to. Oh.
It was funny because so we decided to create the podcast, and we told ourselves that we were not going to tell people about it. And
especially family.
Yeah, because we wanted it to be sincere, right? We wanted it to put it out there, and people find it, they find it, and if they're interested, they'll listen to it, and they'll give it a try, and they'll go from there. And that's why we always keep on saying thank you, right? It's when you took time to listen to us and join us on this journey, and that's why we're appreciated, right? We're not making money out of this. We're losing money, right? We spend our own money.
I know my kids are complaining. I work
yeah
too much. I'm always
when you're editing,
yes,
right?
because I'm editing plus my regular work hours plus the podcast recording
And being a mom, you know, being a full-time mom.
Well,
that's
but
also extra.
that's been there. Our 10-year-old has literally asked me, "Mom, are you guys gonna record today? Mom, do you have to edit today?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, I have to edit today." And he's like, "Oh, okay." But he sounds so sad because it's like I'm already not available during the week.
Yeah.
You know, and now on the weekends I'm also not available.
That makes me sad, but you know, but at the same time, I'm like, well, what do they want us to be out there? We're trying to talk to them or play with them. They're like, I'm going to my room.
That's
or
true.
I'm playing with my toys, or I'm on my Nintendo, or I want to play it on my phone.
Yeah,
that's my fight too. You know, it's like I'm here trying to spend time with you guys, and you guys are, you know, on your phone, you know, or you know, playing
watching
your game, or making me forced to watch these damn cartoons that are dumb or not even fun, like what we grew up watching.
But many people would say it's, you know, just spending time with them is all that matters.
Oh no, yeah, I like being around, but you know, when you try to have a conversation and it's
they
not
blow
happening,
you off.
yeah. So that's why we're always big on, you know, game nights or, you know, game board night or you know, family movie
We've been
night.
trying to do that, yeah, more often.
Because it's when we're like, put the stuff down, turn it all off, and let's just have a conversation. Dinner is usually our moment when we sit down and we all have nice conversations, right? Especially on the weekends. Mm-hmm. Well, back to what we were saying. So yeah, we made the podcast, and it's just like you said, we wanted people to find it. We don't want them to feel kind of obligated to listening to us. Because it's my, you know, my cousin or, you know, my friend or whatever. Not part of me does want to promote it and talk about it all the time to people and tell them we have a podcast to listen to it. You know, I want the support. But I'd rather it grow by itself on that aspect and not feel like I owe people favors. That's just the type of person that I am. Mm-hmm. So I know if I told our daughter that we had the podcast, I know she will listen to it out of obligation or whatever, right? Because she loves us and she supports us and stuff. But it was funny. She seemed a little hurt that I didn't tell her. Or that you didn't tell her.
We don't talk. That is covered in one of the episodes.
Well, that was part of the conversation. She was like, well, I don't talk to Mom because she's always busy. And I know you kind of let her know what we're talking about. So I'm just going to be echoing everything. And then I call her. And if I do, you know, she's busy because I know she's with the kids. I know she's working and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, bottom line at the end, I was like, well, you know what? Whenever you come to town, maybe you can be our guest and we can talk about what you want to talk about, what you've listened so far. And she was like, you know, yeah, I'm up to the sibling one.
Oh, she's listened to all of them?
Yeah, she's up to the sibling one, the sibling dispute. And she was like, I was a little worked up on that one, Dad. She says, I love my siblings, all of them. And that's why I spoil them and I love them and I care for them. And she had a lot to say. So I was like, well, you know what? That's what gave me the idea. I was like, so people, heads up. We're probably going to have our first guest here within the next month or so. Which we've been talking about maybe having some guests, right? Every once in a while.
That means we need more microphones.
That's definitely, yeah. No, and it's in the works. I'm thinking about, yeah, what more to do. But yeah, but she's like, and that's another person that gave me feedback. It's like, yeah, I'm on Spotify. I've been listening to them all. Usually I wake up, I listen to it in the morning. And I was like, well, if you want to share with your friends how dysfunctional your family is, you know. And she's like, oh, no, I already told a couple. It was like, my mom and dad have a podcast. If you guys want to see what my background is from one side of the family, well, here you go. She said only a few that she feels cool with, not other ones that, you know, she doesn't want to put it out there. Yeah. Which is part of the reason why we don't use names, so that people don't actually like, oh yeah, those are your parents, you know. It's more like, oh yeah, they reminded me of your parents, so they're not sure, you know. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's better when we say ages, I think, because as parents, like if a parent listener can relate, it's like, okay,
to that age group.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's kind of like the same as my 10-year-old, or oh yeah, my 4-year-old is doing that right now, you know.
Yes.
So, or yeah, my teenagers definitely just headphones in, locked up in the room, and doesn't want to be around. So it's part of that. Instead of just confusing people with names, right? So yeah, she was happy. She said she was a little hurt that we didn't tell her, but yeah, she's like, cool, awesome, much love and support to you guys. Hopefully, like you guys keep on putting out more content, and she's like, it's enjoyable. She had, like I said, a lot of things to say, feedback wise, and trying to make like answers. And she was kind of like, hey, I'm touched. Mom appreciates my gifts, and I appreciate it. I was like, know that I love you guys, and I know the sacrifices that you guys went through, or, I'm sorry that you guys felt like that. Like, she got to see the other point of view of it now, and like, she's hearing things that were kind of like a surprise to her, like the first frustrations and stuff like that we were feeling, or how we felt neglected, or how we felt, excluded from things. And so she was like, know that I love you guys, and I'm always thankful, and my success is your guys' success, and part of who I am is because of you guys. So it was nice to hear that stuff. It was good.
Yeah, and that goes back to one of the things I had said, right? That as my stepdaughter, it might not have felt like she appreciated us when she was little, but once she was adult and she came into her own, she was able to voice that as an adult.
Yeah, and she was echoing that, pretty much.
And that's, kind of a hope for other step parents out there.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying too. Remember, it was like I have fights. Patience. Yeah, I have fights with both of my stepmoms. I had a weird relationship with them, but now that I'm a father and I'm an older person, I appreciate a lot of the things that they did for me, and what they taught me in the journey. Yeah, dry your eyes, babe. It's cool. It's just letting the people know that you do have a heart.
I have a heart. Was it? How big is the Grinch's heart?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
So I wanted to let you know that.
Okay.
I was saving.
I was not expecting it. You made it seem like super scary.
No,
I thought it was gonna be like one of the people we
a little extra sauce on the tacos. Nothing wrong with that. Have a little fun with it.
I was like, how in the world did they find it?
Yeah, no.
If nobody talks to us, how in the world did they find it? Well, now that totally makes sense that it was our 23-year-old.
Yeah. So so I just wanted to tell you that one. Yeah.
Thanks for the suspense for all these days. Oh my goodness.
But yeah. Oh yeah. On that note, real quick, I heard that last episode, and there were moments when I really sounded very douchey, and I'm sincerely gonna apologize for that one.
I don't know why you're apologizing for sounding that way, because you said like in the very first episode that that's who you are.
Yeah, but there were moments where I was like, well, good, we don't need those people. I was like, man, that alcohol did get me going. Like, it was just. I usually say I apologize for nothing. Because I shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But there were moments when I was like, I listened to it, I was like, oh man, that's not usually how I am, is it?
You are like that.
Oh, well then I apologize for nothing.
No, it's like you have your moments where you can be very professional and, you're a good listener. But then there's many other times where you're just like, I don't care. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about what you think. Sorry or not sorry. Like,
yeah,
that's, I guess, part of your two sides, Daniel versus Oskar.
Well, yeah, and I've been told before that, like, and I think I said it before, is that there's a way that I talk or the way that I say things that just comes across the wrong way when I'm joking. Yeah, my tone, yeah.
Which you hate on other people but can't handle if someone calls you on your
but exactly,
tone.
But my tone is my tone, and it's like that all the time.
That's not all the time.
90% of the time?
Maybe 90% of the time.
Okay, so it's pretty much all the time. While other people are never like that, and then all of a sudden they get that tone.
So you should understand then, if other people get that tone, the seriousness of what they're telling you.
Okay. Ooh. Man, then I do hurt a lot of people's feelings then.
Duh.
Yeah.
You like to poke buttons. You like to...
Yeah, I like to poke.
Ya empezamos.
No, yeah, I like to instigate
you
stuff.
You like
it's
to
fun.
instigate. Yes, you definitely like to instigate.
Get your mind out of the gutter, woman.
If people could see your face, they would think the same thing I thought.
True.
It's hard to get my mind out of the gutter if you're looking at me a certain way.
Oh man, I'm sorry, guys. So then we just recently went out, and it was just us with the baby, and I can't remember. Usually, if it, somebody else usually
It's
comes along.
usually at least two of them.
Yeah, so
But they
it
all
was.
wanted to
So
stay
we had the
home.
baby, and it was nice. I think it's also been a while since we were out with the baby, and we were just
Just the
kicking
three
it
of
and
us.
having fun. Yeah, and we ended up going out to eat some sushi. And again, it happened, a place that we went to, and it was great. We've been there a few times. Usually our dates.
It's our date night place usually.
Yeah, that's where we end up going. But I just thought it was not that great yesterday.
It was not great yesterday. It
was like
wasn't.
people
It
learning.
looked lovely. It looked
Yeah,
delicious.
but those things were almost like burritos, man. Those things were huge. Those rolls.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is part of the reason we like going there is because you get a lot of bang for your buck. But
yeah.
at the same time, the flavor was just off.
Yeah, something was. Yeah, I don't know.
As beautiful as the servings looked, it just wasn't as delicious.
Okay, so then on that note, we got back, and I wasn't feeling good.
And I got super sleepy.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. I was falling asleep on the drive, and I laid down for a few, and my heart was racing. Like, it was pounding. Like, I can feel it in my forearm as I was laying down. Like, I was like, is this what, like, heart attacks feel like? Like, what the hell is going on to my body? And today, I am honestly in pain. My joints are not happy, especially around the hip area. I am just like, what the crap? It's not fun to feel like this, and it reminded of how bad I've been lately, breaking my lifestyle. So about 3 years ago, right before the pandemic started, I saw a documentary on Netflix called Game Changers. And it was about, if you haven't seen it, it's about the power of being a vegetarian and the benefits of being, a vegetarian or vegan, right? And as I was watching it, I saw who the people were behind it and the people that were interviewing and the main guy in it. And I was almost crying as I was watching this because I was raised to be a high protein, medium carb kind of person. My dad was a construction worker. He always made us work out. We never ate out. And I didn't know burgers and pizzas that much. I didn't know none of those chain stuff until like I was in high school when I started ditching and hanging out with my friends. So everything this documentary was talking about was totally completely the opposite of what I was raised to live by, right? And what I was studying, because I was always a very small, skinny guy. I was very tiny. And I remember my dad wouldn't let me play football for that reason, because he was afraid they were going to break me in half. And I was like, no, Dad, like, I want to bulk up. I want to do this. I want to do that. And he started, kind of like my beginnings, of weight training and packing on muscle and getting big. And so it worked for me. I mean, it worked for me to the point where I remember, I mean, over the summer, I gained a lot. Like, I got big, and they even wanted to test me for, I mean, they did, I think, test me for steroids with JV football. Because they couldn't believe that I packed on that much, at the time. I wasn't the best athlete. It wasn't great. I'm not going to say none of that. But, it was a drastic change from this really tiny, skinny kid to all of a sudden I just got wider with creatines and shakes and raw steaks and a lot of fish, a lot of chicken breast. Right. So, yeah. So, I was watching this documentary. It made me emotional. I was like, what? No way. So that led me down the road to start researching, which is rare when that happens to me, because it's usually more like with electronics or vehicles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I started going down the nutrition kind of way. What I have ever known was, like the encyclopedia of Arnold Schwarzenegger or, wider. Like I said, I was a small guy. My dad has these beautiful big arms all my life that I've seen them. And even in the military, like, the food was different,
Oh, but we know there's other things in that food.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. But so that led me to actually try to go Did I go vegan or vegetarian for?
Vegetarian. I think you were trying to go pescatarian.
That led to that. I tried to go, vegetarian for I think a week or two.
Yeah, but there's no way you were
And
hungry all the time.
I felt horrible. My body was not happy.
You couldn't think straight.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, but I really want to do this, I really want to do this, but it's just the way my body started acting. It wasn't working with me. So then I was like, well, let me add pescatarian.
Gassy.
Yeah, let me add some seafood. Let me try pescatarian. I discovered pescatarian, and I liked it. It was not bad, but
You love seafood.
it was too pricey.
Pricey, yes.
Yeah, but while I was doing all this research and everything, I was starting to learn about being a carnivore. I heard somebody, I think it was a Joe Rogan podcast, because Game Changers was like the main subject. Everybody was talking about it. It was a big change,
Mm-hmm.
And I started listening to this Joe Rogan podcast, and I believe he had Dr. Saladino on as a guest. I think that was my first thing about it. And I heard about it, and I was like, well, you know what? I do enjoy the crap out of meat.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel great when
you have a good steak.
have it. I grew up with it, and organs. And so I was like, all right. And then I found Dr. Sean Baker, and I started researching him and following him on Instagram, and same thing with Dr. Saladino. And then I found the Carnivore Cast podcast, and I started listening to them. And I think it was the first podcast that I went from the beginning, because usually podcasts I just start on where they're at. Like, that's it. I go backwards, because it's usually interviews with people, or motivational speaking, or business stuff. But I wanted to start researching this, and I started learning about it, and that led me to learn what happens when you do too much, tuna, or certain fishes that's too much mercury based, heavy on mercury. And I started connecting and identifying myself a lot with the carnivore people. A lot of the people are ex-military, ex-athletes, ex-injuries, arthritis, broken bones, got heavy, got fat, and they're all addicted to painkillers. They all have depression,
Brain fog.
Yeah, a lot of things. And I was like, wow, I can identify. And I started listening to some guys during that podcast, and how they're talking and they're hanging out, and they're talking about their experiences, everything they're going through. And I was like, you know what? I can relate to that. It's talking to me. It's calling me. And knee injuries and ankle injuries. And so I was like, yo, I'm going to start reading these books. So I got the Carnivore Code.
Dr. Paul Saladino.
Yes. And I got the one by Dr. Sean Baker, which I can't remember the name of the book right now. But I really submerged in the Carnivore podcast. And
yeah, he was talking carnivore stuff to me all the time.
Yeah.
Babe, I learned this. Babe, I learned that.
And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to try it.
He did.
And immediately, within 7 days, I saw changes. By 30 days, I was amazed at what my body was going through. At 60 days, I was like, wow. Like, wow. At 90 days, I was like, I'm never going back. Never going back. Like, never. I got off the painkillers.
Yeah.
I started losing weight crazy.
Yeah, but you were also working out more.
Yes. Whenever I felt like I was crashing, I would eat, and it was like if I took like pre-workout.
Yeah. You stopped eating 3 or 4 times a day, or snacking.
Yeah, depending on how active twice a day or once a day. Usually weekends, not that active, chilling with the family, whatever. Now it was like once a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved. I mean, everything about me started changing. Like my skin color, my energy levels, which was the main one for me, because we have little ones, and I wanted to be able to play with them and have fun with them. And now I had the energy for it. I know that we all have different codes and different bodies, and it's not for everyone. But it's one of those things that I think everybody should kind of try something that works for them, right?
Yeah.
I started, of course, I started learning about keto. Everybody's talking about keto this, keto that.
We know a lot of people who are on keto, or even on paleo.
Yeah. Oh, paleo was the first one. Yeah, and I actually did contemplate doing paleo for a while. I think I tried it for a little bit, but I went completely.
You felt better. So my experience from the outside looking in is that I definitely saw his mood change. He was less grouchy, less depressed. He was more optimistic and positive about his life in general and the direction of life. And and he was always kind of like that, but he did fall into the slump as he got heavier and heavier and heavier. And then now with this lifestyle change, trying to make himself feel better, he was always complaining about joint pain. The doctor said every, oh, you're going to need surgery for this and you're going to need surgery for that. And he's like, man, that's going to put me out of commission. I'm not going to be able to walk for whoever knows how long. And so he was trying to find a way to do this naturally. And so definitely the vegetarian lifestyle did not call to him. You have to eat so much vegetables to feel full, right? And one could argue is, oh, you get used to it, right? Just like everything else, right? Someone could say, oh, well, you didn't give it enough time. But in the research that ultimately was done, and wasn't that TV show debunked?
Yes. Yeah, it ended up being that it was backed up by, people that had a lot to gain out of it, I guess. And
like that guy who supposedly was buff on vegan diet.
Oh, yeah, the one that said, because the oxers also are vegetarians and they're so strong. So, yeah he was a big time steroid
user. So it's, when stuff like that, you see a documentary of some sort that's like, oh my gosh, what the heck? And then you try it and then you find out, like everything else in life that you try to believe in, then you find out that it wasn't true, or it was debunked by some reason, or it was half true and it was full of fillers, to make it, legit or seem legit. And then you go down the rabbit hole of researching and learning about how the body works and the different body types and all these different factors that go into a person's physical constitution. Then you're like, okay, well, that definitely is not going to work for me. You tried the whole paleo or, keto thing, low carb, high protein. That still didn't quite make you feel great. And then you went full on. One day he just showed, he said, okay, I'm doing this. And he went full carnivore. And I'm like, well, I don't know that you should just eat meat. I wasn't on that level. And I told him you should still have some vegetables. Again, this is the way I was raised. I was raised to at least have a very balanced diet. Higher on the protein side, but definitely include your veggies every now and then. Lentils. I'm not a bean person. I like lentils better than beans. He was a big bean and rice person growing up. That's what he was used to. So it was a big switch for him. I was very proud of him for being able to turn it off. I think you even went off coffee.
Yeah.
At the beginning. Like he was off of everything. He went off coffee. He just went straight cold turkey. Right? No coffee, no carbs, only protein.
Yeah, water.
And water. Lots of water. And then he slowly started introducing certain things back in.
I introduced the coffee back at the
and then you introduced honey.
I started messing with honey at 6 months.
At 6 months.
At 6 months in, I started.
And that's because honey. You had heard from Dr. Saladino, right, that he had also done the same thing, right? He had gone so long doing carnivore, and he slowly was introducing fruits and honey back into his diet.
Yeah, I didn't want to do fruits because of the sugar. I was afraid of the sugar because there was a time when I made the mistake and I had a shot of I want to say it was like that Jaeger one that you bought me, that apple.
That Jaeger coffee?
Yeah, I had a shot of that. And it was because I wanted to taste it because you had bought it for me right when I started it, but it was just been sitting there. So I was like, oh, one, it's not going to kill me. One little shot just to taste it. And I passed out. I literally passed out within 15 minutes. I was in the couch content. And I woke up and my face was like drooling. And I hadn't drooled the whole time I went carnivore.
Yeah.
And I felt so heavy. I felt so out of it. And I was like, damn, it has that much sugar. So then I went to look at the contents, right? And I was like, oh, okay. Bad. Sugar, bad. Sugar's a drug.
Sugar's bad.
That's when I learned how bad sugar was because everything
especially how it affects you.
No, right? Yeah. And it's kind of one of those things where when I started carnivore, in the beginning, I was like, oh, I need a snack. I need something. And like, oh. And the first week it was getting crazy. I was like, oh, just eat to get full. Eat to get full. And I was eating, I think, a lot. I think I was going about, I I want to say maybe 4 pounds a day of just meat protein. Yeah. Well, and it was the beginning, and it was a pandemic, so it was a lot of ground beef. I was eating a lot of ground beef. I remember that. Just learning, and then
to the point he doesn't like ground beef anymore.
No, and then it got to the point where you can't trust a fart after the first week. They say they should take within 30 days, but for me it was faster. It's just my stomach was like and it was the cleansing, and like I said, my skin starts getting red. And then it went away, and it had a different color. Like spots were going away, everything. And the moment I started introducing organs, also like my things were changing. My thing was that when I first started telling people I was going carnivore, I was straight out getting attacked. Like I was, I
to this
felt,
day you still get attacked.
Yeah, I remember you were not happy. You're like, yeah, you should have this, you should have that. Like at least add some
at least
of this.
a little bit.
And I was like, and I always made my joke where I was like, no, this is what food eats. Like I don't eat what food eats. That's my food eats it. I get it from it. Right. I'll make those jokes, and just people get mad and get offended by it. You used to get mad before I went carnivore, and you just served me a salad, and I was like, "This is what's for dinner." I was like, "Hell no! Like this is what food eats. Where's my meat? I need constant. I need protein in my food." And automatically, everybody always says, "Oh, what about gout?" Or "Oh, that's bad for you." Or, "What about your cholesterol? What about your heart? What about the fat?" And it's the other stuff that affects that. And I remember, and I mentioned it before, I took a blood test before I went carnivore, and I took a blood test at a year. And, my doctors were thrilled and happy. And
they didn't even know you had gone carnivore.
No. And then I remember,
Yeah, because the doctors had told you were pre-diabetic, right? Before you started this.
High cholesterol.
You had high cholesterol and you were pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
Is what they had told you. So you went to this extreme, and when you went back, without knowing you were on carnivore, they thought you were on keto, right? They were like, "Oh, this is awesome."
And I lost all that weight, and
your pre-diabetic stuff, the markers went away, and they didn't even say anything about your cholesterol anymore. They said everything looked good.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I think everybody's obviously gets concerned, right? But I find it funny how when you're eating a candy, nobody tells you shouldn't eat that.
Yeah,
that's bad for you.
That's true.
You go to a fast food joint. Hey, yeah, I stopped at whatever place, and I picked me up a burger and fries and
nobody gives you crap about the shake and the fries.
Yeah, like, hey, you shouldn't be eating that. That's processed food or fake with preservatives, or that bread is bad, or nobody tells you that. But the moment you say, hey, I'm going carnivore, oh no, you're killing yourself. And what about your family? Think about your kids. Think about your wife. Like, you're gonna ruin everything. And I'm like, why? Like, why? But then after a while, and start seeing that, hey man, he's losing weight. Hey man, like he's got energy. Hey man, he's doing all this crazy stuff. Oh, hey, he seems to be getting more muscular. Or, it's like, it's like finding the fountain of youth. That's how I felt that year. After that year, I wanted to test it. I wanted to go kind of borderline keto. I started introducing food. So I started messing around with it.
You had some fruits. You had honey.
Yeah. It was a year. I added avocado.
You had added avocado, yeah.
I started messing with a little bit of nuts.
Yeah. You'd have nuts every now and then.
Yeah. And it all went away.
Well, I think you also added pizza you added a cheat day, right?
Yeah.
So you added a cheat day on the weekends. So where if, we all went out for pizza or we just went out for dinner, it was basically whenever we went out as a family, right? If we went out to dinner, you ate whatever, because it's harder to, customize your meal.
It is hard. It is hard going out to restaurants and everything.
But that's when you would say, oh, this is my cheat day.
Yeah.
And you would because we stopped doing everything, right? So we were saving money in that sense by not going out to eat, because trying to help him avoid eating what he wasn't supposed to, or if we went out to eat, he was just asked for a steak or sitting there, because
or I would eat before, or I would eat after we would get back from doing that stuff.
Exactly.
I would just sit and watch you guys eat.
Yeah, and that sucked.
And then I come home and
he eventually went to this whole place of, okay, I'm going to have a cheat day, and my cheat day is going to be eating with you guys, or if we knew there was going to be a party or a get together that we were going to go to, his cheat day was going to be that party, so that he could eat whatever was at the party. And
it wasn't always like that I would eat what was at the party, because I remember I would eat either before or after too.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
But you noticed as you started adding the carbs, you would crush. Like, we would be on the drive home. Like, one time we went to a pasta restaurant.
It was one of our kids' birthdays, and that's what they wanted to eat, and they were feeling bad about wanting that because they were like, Dad loved that place before, and
and they'd
Dad
never
loves
been there,
pasta.
right? We'd never taken the kids to this pasta place.
Yeah.
So we ended up taking them, and he gave in, and he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna eat because it's a celebration and it's gonna be my cheat meal. He was in so much pain. I had to drive home because he felt like his stomach was going to explode from all the carbs.
My heart, when the
His
veins
heart.
in my neck were popping out, I was like,
he looked like I should have taken him to the emergency room. And
Yeah,
I didn't.
I felt horrible.
We went
that day.
home and he slept. And he wasn't sleeping, he was in the bathroom. And he just was completely out of it because of the carbs and the sugar. He'd been off of it for so long. And I think he had just too much of it that day that it completely messed him up.
Yeah.
And even, for example, eating sushi, right? We'd go on a date night and he'd been feeling great. And it's like, okay, it's a date. It's a cheat day. I'm going to have sushi. Rice is not as bad as wheat, but there are other things in the sushi that are going to add to that carb intake.
That fake mayo.
The mayo, the soy sauce, all that
I don't
stuff.
have soy sauce.
Yeah.
For
So
some reason. But
we would get home and same thing. He would crash on the sofa. He'd be falling asleep in the car. He'd fall asleep as soon as he got home. Just that little bit of carb or whatever amount of carb was there would just make him crash because his system had cleansed all the carb out of it for that full year. It was any little bit of carb messed him up.
yeah, I think for me, the thing that I always find funny when people find out that I'm carnivore, they laugh. They think, oh, how expensive is that? Another one is usually like, how much food do you eat? Like, and remember we had that conversation one time. We had that scale for the food, and I was like, oh, I need my pound for right now for my meal. I'm cooking myself a pound of meat, right? And everybody's like, what the heck? Like, you guys, even the kids, like, that's a lot, Dad. But I was like, no, this is my only meal for the day. I'm only gonna have a pound today. And I think it was with the oldest boy. I was like, give me your plate. Give me your plate. Like, he had like a piece of meat, but he had like the rice on like lentils and salad or whatever not. And we wait what he was eating, right? And he was like at 2-something pounds. And then I was like, okay, there's like, so look at that much. That's just twice as much as what I have on my plate right now. And I was like, oh man, that's crazy. I was like, see, you don't think about it that way. You eat way more throughout the day. Weight your breakfast plate, weight your lunch plate, weight your snacks, weight everything. Add all that throughout the day. Your fruits, cereals, whatever, chips, add all that up. People are usually like looking at them and just counting the calories, right?
When they should be counting the weight.
Yeah, but you can count the weight, you can count the sugar, you can add the seed oils,
the carbs,
the carbs, yeah. And compared to that, and it's like, oh wow, okay. I was like, I'm eating like a quarter of what you guys eat in a day. So that kind of changes people's point of view in a way, and they're always judgmental.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's crazy. Oh, that gets expensive. And I was like, no, it doesn't. It really isn't.
Because you're not eating as often. So,
Yeah.
like, on average, you try to eat 2 pounds of meat a day. Right?
Yeah.
If you can get 2 pounds of meat a day, that's perfect. That's like a perfect day for you, right? Meal-wise. So you'll get, a pound for breakfast, if that, and another pound for dinner.
Right.
That's ideal. And so if people say, oh, it's super expensive, it's like, well, 2 pounds of meat is not that expensive compared to meat, rice, potatoes, the cost of all that.
Right. You can buy a pack of meat, right? Let's say it's like, what, 15, 20 bucks. Let's just say 4.5 pounds.
Just depends on where you shop.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just say that, like an example. And you go to eat one meal and you're spending about 20 bucks.
If you go out, yeah.
Yeah. Or a burger or whatever.
And you're getting minimal protein and mostly carbs. You're getting maybe 10% protein and everything. Yeah.
So the main things that I always look for when I'm going to eat something, it's just to be funny, or I point out people, is like, how much sugar is in it? Does it have soy? Right.
What does it have? Oil, period.
And what kind of oils? Yeah.
Has it been fried?
Which are the worst things that you can put in your body.
Yes.
And it's been proven over and over again.
So you went on this whole carnivore thing. And I didn't join you fully, but I did start to cut out certain things.
Yeah, when you started reading the book and you started listening to some of the stuff I was sending you, yeah, you were like, oh, interesting, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when you get to the part when we're talking about the stomach, our intestines.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I went on a total kick about all that.
Yeah, you were like amazed by it, right?
Okay. So I learned we as humans, we evolved with one stomach, and our intestine is our colon is smaller. So the comparison, I believe, was made to animals that eat grass. They usually have more than one stomach because as the vegetables pass through each stomach, it's digesting it more. And that's something we as humans cannot do. We only have one stomach to process all our food. So when we put certain vegetables into our body, specifically the cruciferous family, those vegetables cannot be broken down enough by our one stomach for our intestines to absorb the proper nutrition from them. And our colon is also not long enough to absorb all that because in other animals that do eat vegetables or do eat these like leafy greens, their intestines are longer so that the food actually stores in them to ferment.
Right.
And that's the biggest process is the
fermentation
fermentation process, because without that fermentation process, the intestines cannot absorb the nutrients from the leafy greens.
Right. So, and this is why a lot of people love kimchi on their diets, right?
Well, and this is like a cheat thing, right? So
Yeah.
carnivores, there are some carnivores that say if you're going to have a vegetable or a leafy green of some sort, make sure it is fermented.
Right, because it's easier for your body to digest
Yes.
it and take the nutrients that it needs from it.
Yes, because that's our human digestive system cannot break it down and ferment it the way the animals can. So
Right.
that was what I learned, and I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense to me. So we no longer eat certain leafy greens in our family, and nobody has gas issues or stomach issues anymore. And I've noticed that if we do by chance have certain things like beans, if we eat beans now, if we eat certain types of lettuce type kales or cabbages, our stomachs are in so much pain. And I've had people tell me, oh, it's because you don't have the proper flora in your system. Yet I've heard that many vegetarians or vegans suffer from extreme stomach issues for the same reason, because all they do is eat vegetables. And, oh, well, you have to take the gut bugs.
Oh, yeah,
You know, you
yeah.
have to take those to help you digest. And I'm like, that to me is ridiculous. You should not have to take something like a bug to help your intestines be able to absorb it. If our system was made to do that, like a goat's or a cow's, if our stomachs were meant to do that, they would be able to do it without us ingesting extra bugs or bacteria to help us digest that.
There were so many things on that.
Yeah,
So,
but for me, that was like the biggest, like,
yeah,
wow.
there were, like I said, I can always read it and retain it for myself. It's always hard for me to explain it, but that's why I gave you the book. And there are times when I talk to people and they're kind of curious, and I feel like I need to buy like a box of these books and just
pass them out like a Bible.
Yeah, and pass them out. It's funny, but it's true. So I remember right now, it was that Carnivore Diet book by Dr. Sean Baker, where he talks about his experience of being a doctor, and he's an athlete and his injuries, and going through the carnivore diet and what it did to him as a doctor, as his family, as his personal journey, and how he was pretty much attacked by even by his colleagues.
The same thing happened to Dr. Saladino.
Right. And Dr. Saladino, the same thing. The difference with Dr. Saladino's book is he's also kind of talking about that, but he's giving you stats. He did blood work. He's showing you graphs and everything. So, and that aspect is more educational, right? There's also another doctor that I found later on that I really enjoy. He's on Instagram. His name is Dr. Kiltz. He's from New York. He's an older gentleman too. Great body, great shape. There's also another kind of radical guy on social media, Carnivore Aurelius.
Yeah, I
But
follow him too.
I enjoy his stats, his info, everything that he has to say. There's also the Carnivore Doctor, which is Dr. Lisa Whiteman, I believe. I always
Yeah.
also enjoy listening to her, and her input is she's more like, yeah, just protein. You get your protein. If you need to do certain things like that, then then it works. There was a carnivore kind of keto coach is another doctor. So I went into this group of just research of people that I started following and listening to, that are the ones that guided me. And I laugh because, like I said, every time I bring it up, people will just kind of attack me, or they ask me some weird questions, and I try to explain it the best I can. And it's funny for me because everybody tells me always, and it literally just happened to me like a few days ago, where they tell me, it's like, I can't eat meat. I can't have red meat. It's so bad for me. It was killing me. Even part of your family is like, oh yeah, I eat meat, and my
I start to
face
break
turns red
out
and started breaking out. And I'm like, yeah, because your body is cleansing itself.
Yeah, or it's so not used to having that in its system because it's so full of the other crap
Yeah.
that it's like, what the heck are you giving me?
And the thing that makes it funny is, like, if you saw me, if you met me before and you knew how I was, and then I went this way, and you're telling me, oh, you look good, what are you doing, whatever. And the moment I tell you I'm a carnivore, and you're like, oh, you're killing yourself. Oh no. Like a few seconds ago, you were just
Praising.
praising me, and now you're attacking me.
Yeah. But since you started, testing the waters, and then come the holidays, right? You ended up cheating more and more and more and more.
I hate myself. I feel so guilty every time I end up falling from the wagon. It's like,
Yeah. And it's been hard to get back on it 100% since then because, we as a family don't help, right? We have 4 kids. I try to buy healthy foods and healthy snacks, and it's not always possible. And I have not made the time to make healthy snacks for the kids. So, I do buy things as healthy as possible. I might make pancakes or French toast on the weekend, and that's just like, ooh,
yeah, but
let me try that.
You were making the protein, but like
I was doing it for a while,
the
and
egg whites.
it got expensive with
and
the eggs thing. So I haven't this
Right.
whole egg fiasco that's going on right now. Not being able to find eggs at a decent price has, made it really hard to keep up with, your diet. I was trying really hard to make egg waffles, like protein waffles, which they're super simple to make. They're just egg and cheddar cheese or whatever cheese I had, and then I would put those in a whisk them, put them in the waffle maker, and make these delicious protein waffles for him. But I haven't been on top of it, and I do feel bad sometimes, but then I'm also like, we can't find eggs sometimes.
Yeah, but being mainly more part of it is a good thing than not doing it at all. So even if it's like 80% in, you're still doing it better. So a lot of times people ask, like, what are the benefits for you? What have been the benefits for you, right? And like I said, I feel more active. The pain from my injuries in my bones are
minimal
or gone when I was 100% out in it. My sleep pattern was good. There was no such thing as like negativity or depression, I guess some people would call it. And guys, libido is exaggerated again. Like anything,
Yes,
is like
not for me, but for him.
Yeah, it's like, damn, like it's strong like bull. How I would always make that joke. It was so much that I would even have enough energy no matter how much I worked at. My job could be very physical, and then even after that, I would still go to the gym because I still felt like I needed to burn more energy. And then, like I said, the gap of eating, 14-hour gap. Like from my last meal to my next meal, it was like, I have dinner, and 14 hours later, I'll be having breakfast, and then I would just eat something if my body needed it. Like maybe 5-6 hours later. So it's crazy, but I always find it funny how people just attack you, and then it's just.
Ultimately, though, in our household, right, we've cut out cruciferous vegetables. Right,
seed oils,
right? We don't cook in oil whatsoever. We don't let the
kids,
we cook everything in butter or ghee. We cut out we haven't cut out wheat completely, but I'm very conscious of how much sugar,
Right.
we have, because I still make sandwiches for the kids, and because I don't make my own bread, they still do get that. Donuts and cakes, those are treats in our house, and they're really more for the kids, not for the adults.
Right.
We've cut out a lot of things that you don't find our pantry full of any type of junk food. If we have chips, they're going to be corn tortillas. The corn tortilla chips, that's about the extent of chips in our household. I know it's really boring people, really boring food in our house.
And we're not saying that the corn tortillas are good either. Like,
yeah, that's true, because they're still usually fried or baked, right? So those are not even good. But I'm saying if we're going to have some type of chip in the household, it's going to be a corn tortilla chip, right? That's some type of corn tortilla chip. If again, we the kids still get to have candy. They still celebrate holidays and things like Halloween, and there'll be candy in the house, but they're limited on to how many they can have a day. You get one candy a day.
And also, like people always wonder, like, well, how do you fry your stuff? How do you cook your stuff? I was like, well, there's butter. Ghee, there's butter,
tallow,
and there's fats. Like meats have fats. Yeah. I like my meats to have some fat because your body needs some fat also.
Your brain needs the fat.
Yeah, and we're not supposed to be having a lot of pork, because they're grain fed. So a lot of grain fed
that's
stuff
a different.
Yeah, it's a whole different extreme, right? Yeah. For me, not for the family, but for me. So there's bacon lard. I save it sometimes.
Oh yeah, we save our bacon lard.
And we use it to fry a piece of steak or something, or just
it's
whatever.
It's delicious.
So there's no seed oils, like they're, and that includes olive oil too. People, like a lot of people, it is healthier than the others. Yes, definitely. If you need it, then go ahead and use it. Avocado oil, it is, but I don't.
We don't use any.
I don't, because it's still bad for me. For my extreme, it's still bad for me.
So we still on occasion eat like the children and I still on occasion will have a salad, but it's rare. And if we have it as a dressing, we don't allow any type of like ranch or Italian or anything like that unless we've made it ourselves. And if we do, it's going to be a vinaigrette.
Right.
So it's going to be, it's extra virgin olive oil, and it's going to be a red wine vinegar, or just lime or lemon and a little salt.
And I know a lot of people, and this is one of my favorite jokes too, is like a lot of people are always like, oh, but isn't it boring? Isn't it? It's like, look, once you're like committed to it and you've been doing it for all different types of cuts of meat taste different.
They do taste different.
And my favorite joke, and I remember I said that to one of your family members, and they were kind of laughing, but they were shocked by my answer, where they're like, oh, isn't it boring? Isn't it boring to eat meat every day, to eat the same thing? And I was like, well, you have sex with the same freaking person for the rest of your life. Like, wouldn't that get boring to you? And I'm like,
some people it does, which is why they cheat.
And they're like, I was like, it's the same shit. Like, there's a path to you.
And it's not a matter of eating the same thing. Again, he said you eat different cuts of meat. So like one day we'll have ground beef, which I know he's not crazy about. And we know we've discovered many great ideas online about different ways to make things. So like we love, and I haven't made this in a while, it's like a ground beef ball.
I know where you're going, yeah.
It's like a ground beef ball with a hard-boiled egg in the middle and cheese.
Right.
And that for breakfast is delicious. If you learn to make the protein waffles, that's an excellent thing. There's other, people out there who teach you how to make protein breads. I have tried to make the protein bread several times. I have a long way to go to make it perfect, but
yeah, sometimes it feels like cardboard.
Yeah, I'm really working on that protein bread still. But again, these all are things that require a lot of eggs, which has made it difficult.
And lately. Sometimes I grab a hot dog and I put like little cilantro at the end of it, and I say, "Look, it's a carrot. It's a meat.
It's a meat carrot.
Yeah, it's a carnivore carrot. There you go
with cilantro.
And then I'll grab a meatball too, and I'll put a little stem at the end of it, maybe like a little clove stick, and I'll be like, "Look, it's an apple."
You do sometimes eat oranges though, because we have orange trees.
Yeah, so in this last year I've introduced fruits again. They are sweet. They taste very sweet to me, but I mean, it's fruit. Yeah. It's been around forever, right?
Yeah.
So
and they're out of our own yard.
Yeah, talking about
there's no pesticides.
Exactly. So talking about caveman and old diets, how they survived. ancestrally, right? By your DNA structure, which is why I kind of feel like, yeah, man, like do a DNA test. Who cares? Like it's you get to know what your ancestry is and how they survive. You know, like what foods were in that area.
Yeah.
And your DNA should be able to handle it because there are things, like we said before. I cannot handle this wheat. I cannot. It's so bad. My ankle swell. My hip hurts. Like I was saying today, we had sushi yesterday. I had the rice. I don't know what else they used on that stuff, but my joints are killing me today. I feel like I just ran a marathon.
Yeah.
I feel bloated. I feel weak. I slept a lot. It's just I feel so out of it. I feel droopy. I feel kind of drugged out. I don't take painkillers, and I literally feel like taking a painkiller
Today.
Yeah, it's been 3 years since I had any type of painkiller, and I kind of feel like taking one just to help me out, and I'm not gonna give in. So I want to go back 100% to how I was, but I'm thinking I will leave fruits. I will leave. Like you said, our trees. Luckily, we know there's no pesticides. They're natural. It's just water. Nobody's peeing on it. No animals are peeing on it. Like, I'm okay with that. They're delicious. They're so sweet.
And we have grapefruits too.
And I do the honey not mainly for like the sweetness. I mean, it is a plus, but it's just a little bit of honey on my drinks, and it's more for allergies, right? Because they're local bees, so I need to have that and me. That's just my belief.
Yeah.
But
one thing you haven't cut out is, and you'll say you'll never cut out, is coffee.
Coffee, yeah. No, I do feel like cutting it off again.
And
I
I go through cycles. So I'll cut coffee out for a couple weeks, and then I'll have it for another week. And I just go through cycles with coffee. So for me, it's pretty easy to come off of coffee, whereas I know you've in the past tried to come off coffee, and it's just your headaches are so bad coming off the coffee that even with the whole lifestyle, and maybe that's another thing is because you had gone off of coffee at the beginning of your diet and you were fine. But now this last year, especially that you haven't been 100% on the diet, it's been really hard for you to come off the coffee.
Yeah, and maybe I just need to go back to it. But, well, I just kind of want to let you guys know, like, what my diet was and why I did it. And like I said, I'm happy with it. It worked out great for me. My body feels great when I'm on it 100%. I've experimented already 2 different things since I went 1 year full carnivore to 1 year introducing things. And kind of right now adding a few more things, having those cheat meals. And I think I'm just going to go back to kind of like, I'll call it 90% because I am going to leave the fruits in there. There are some things on the fruits. But yeah, I love it. I felt great. And we have 4 kids that are still young, and I kind of want to stick around. And when I see that what my blood work was and where it is and where it can be, it's just worth it for me.
Yeah.
So,
and we definitely want to reiterate that, choosing a health style for your own life definitely depends on, I think, your genetics and your ancestry. So that is definitely something we went down and we studied and we looked into. And for our genetics, a heavy protein is a good way to go. Definitely though, our bodies need the protein. Our brain needs the fat. And just look at your doctors. What do they look like? And if they are healthy and they tell you that they live a certain lifestyle being that way, then I would say follow them. Yeah. But if they are not healthy,
that is
do
a big
your
plus.
own research.
Yeah, there's some doctors that are talking about being, vegan or whatever, vegetarian, and they look horrible. Like, and then you look at some of the carnivore or the keto ones, and they look healthy and they look young and they look, good. The one thing I have noticed, I don't know if it's just coincidence or not, but I know I've met a lot of vegan people.
Mm-hmm. I know, and you've told me lately.
Man, they have some anger issues.
They have a lot of anger issues.
So they're very unhappy and they're very negative
all the time.
So I'm like, that's a lack of protein right there.
Yeah, but they don't believe
to me, that's my common denominator right there. It's like you're missing protein in your life.
But there's Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
isn't he now also? Oh yeah, he's a carnivore now. For carnivore, but he wasn't.
Yeah, he says he hates it.
He hated I think originally he was not happy about going carnivore, but he can't deny now that he feels better.
Yeah. There's a difference. Like, so I always tell people, try it for 30 days, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't work for you, try it for 60. If you can make it to 30, go for 60. If you make it to 60, go to 90. Stop at 90. Just go to 90. Remember how you felt.
And
I
then
think
start
at 90
adding
is a
things
good point.
back.
And then start adding it. Or just be like, all right, cool. I tried it. Forget this. I'm done. Going back to my lifestyle.
And I have a friend, we have a friend that they discovered this lifestyle, right? And they tried, and they've told me they feel awesome. But they also told me they were only going to do it for 90 days. And I haven't talked to them since to see if they've decided to keep going with it or if, they've gone back to the original lifestyle. But I do remember that when they initially told me that they were going this lifestyle, her and her husband. Yeah.
I love it.
They loved it.
Honestly,
they were
I
super
love
happy
it.
with the way they felt.
Yeah, I feel great. Like I was saying, meat tastes different. And there's so many things. So, like there's ground beef. The reason why sausages are okay and hot dogs and stuff like that, and most people say, oh, no, they're full of nitrates. But you got to think about it. Everything that's left on an animal, like nose to tail.
Nose to tail.
It's in it, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to think about what's in it, but you need it. There's some quality. I'm not saying eat it every day.
But talking about the nitrates, I had recently read that the nitrates are actually not that bad for you because we ourselves create nitrates in our saliva. So there's more nitrate in our saliva naturally that we produce than there is in a hot dog.
Okay.
So when people say avoid nitrates, don't forget that you also naturally create nitrates in your body and that those nitrates are already higher and haven't killed you than the nitrates you might get out of some food.
Yeah, well, like I laugh also, right? Like all these actors, when we see them in movies and everything, and we see them all of a sudden they're ripped, they're muscular, whatever. And what's the first thing they complain about? I was like, I was in an all protein diet, and like that's how they get that muscle.
That's
right?
how they get the muscle.
That's how they get that physique. Working out, high protein intake. There's a reason why that's there. That's the reason why the old Greek gods were,
high protein.
Made like that, right? Because that's what they survived on. There was none of this processing. There was none of this additives.
No processed foods. Yeah.
It was like those statues are there for a reason, right? Those physiques are there. They exist because that's how people were. You think about when our parents or our grandparents were younger, and what did they eat? A lot of red meat. And how did they look? Compare that to our generations now, or the generations
Everyone's
after
obese.
us. Obesity is a big thing here. Europe, most people are high protein, low carb, right? Little snacks.
Yeah.
But
even then, even with their carbs, the process is so different that it's healthier. Like the grains are ancient grains that are not highly processed. Even the gluten levels within the grains are lower than what we have here.
I was about to say the gluttony levels there are different, and then you say gluten.
Gluten.
It's like so gluten and gluttony. Look at that; they go hand in hand,
true.
right?
They
There's
do. They go
probably a
hand in
reason
hand.
for that, right?
Yeah, probably.
So I'm not trying to force this down you guys' throat.
We're just
quick.
letting you know our experience.
Our experience with it. Okay, like I said, there's a lot of things that are meat based, and yes, I eat liver. Like I said before, yes, I've had brains before. I'm Mexican, so
eyeball.
We eat the whole head. We eat the meat, which is one of the best. I fed it to my kids too. It's the most tender since they were babies. Like they enjoyed it. So there's a lot of things. It's not just a piece of steak, it's not just ribeye or it's not a T-bone. Forget about all those big old tomahawks or whatever. Like the UC, I'm not eating one of those.
Yeah, he's not eating a tomahawk every week or every day. That's a treat.
Yeah, it's like I eat meat.
But real quick on your commentary about feeding the kids, those other meats that people don't think about off of a cow or a goat or something. Kids, at least in our experience, the children, our own children, and even other children we've come across want meat.
Yeah.
Right? My niece, she went through this whole only meat kick, right? Our niece went through this whole only meat kick. Right? Where she just wanted to eat meat.
Well, yeah, remember.
And ours have done the same thing.
Remember our children, yeah. We used to, give them, like, let's say salad or, a little pasta or whatever, but we will put meat there. And what did they always went for?
They always ate the meat first. So I think instinctively, their little bodies know what they need. And it's not the leafy green or the tomato. They need the meat, the protein.
Well, and here's the other thing, right? So the animals, yeah.
And it's because they're developing.
And yeah, have you ever noticed, like, you ever look at hunters? They usually are pretty damn healthy, right?
Yeah.
Like people that
Hunters
live
are
out in the
healthy.
woods, they live off animals that they hunt, right?
Yeah.
They live a long life.
Yeah.
And yet nowadays, a lot of people don't live that long because of all these processed foods.
Yeah.
So that's another example of how it's supposed to be, right? And like you said, athletes, hunters, they all have great physiques, and it's because they survive off just the protein. I was going somewhere with it, but I lost my train of thought on it again. Maybe it's because I'm cheating too much with my meals and
You're getting forgetful.
But no, yeah. And so the kids, well, we were saying the kids love it. The kids like it. They want it, and your body craves it and needs it.
I mean, but our kids do, sometimes also not want meat, but that's as they get older, and then they want it again.
Yeah, they get tired.
I
but
think
but
it's
that's
during
because
that growth period.
But it's all that's a good point. That's a good point.
I think
but
it's during
it's
that
also
growth period.
they have sugars. So
Yes.
like I said it before, sugars are a drug.
Yeah.
It's addictive.
And our kids don't have as much sugar as other kids. Like, I know kids who drink
But they eat food.
Pepsis.
Yeah, but they that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
our
our
kids
kids
do
don't
not
drink-
drink any sodas or
Yeah.
any dark stuff. They don't do none of that stuff. We do give them juices, but we
it's
usually water it down.
Yeah, everything's watered down if they get a juice. I know it sounds super boring to some people, but this is
But when you see
our
our
way
kids,
of keeping our kids healthy.
I mean, they're healthy. The doctors have not complained. There's no
their weight is
malnourishment.
perfect. Yeah, they're not malnourished.
They're
in
all
any way.
very, defined. They all have their muscles. But I mean, they eat. Yeah, they have bread. Yeah, they have rice, and that stuff creates sugar. So they're addicted to that. So they're always snacking. Sometimes they don't want the meat. But like you said, when they're going through growth spurts or whatever, and I was like, oh, meat.
They
meat,
just
meat,
want
meat, meat.
protein big time. I've noticed. So in the toddler phase, they wanted a lot of meat, and as they go into the teenage phase, like from 9 to 13, they want a lot of meat. So that's been our observation, is that they want that protein during that time. And in my research and my understanding of how the body works during that growth spurts, or even during just general growth spurts, but during the growth spurts, the body needs the protein for neuron connection. So the brain needs this protein, the cells need the protein to develop correctly. So if there is no protein intake, the brain is not developing correctly, the neurons are not developing, the cerebral connections are not being made, and spinal cord issues and gut issues, all that is a big role. So and that's all affected by sugar intake and wheat intake, and sometimes even dairy intake, because there is a lot of sugar in dairy. So that being said, we're doing the best we can. We know there's parents out there who do the best they can, but I definitely believe that some parents could educate themselves better and not just believe what their doctor says, because we've learned the hard way that doctors do not know everything.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like the doctors, they just want to make, kind of like when we make the joke about the cops, there's a quota of how much prescription drugs they give out, right? And they get a bonus or something.
Yeah.
But when you're healthy and you're good, and they just don't seem to understand why, well, at least in our case, you know, and they're like, oh, okay. And, the other thing that I did notice that I left out was when I was full on carnivore, I never got sick. I never had issues.
Yeah,
never.
the kids might get sick and you didn't.
I was there, held them, cleaned their boogers or whatever. And I never got sick. So that's another thing. It was like, your immunities are at the best. But again, this is my experience. This is my genetic code is different than yours. If you want to try it, go for it. You want to reach out, let us know. For me, right now, I'm looking at my wife, and I feel happy, and I feel like I'm in a way proud, because I remember when I started this journey, she was so against it. She was very hard on me. She was like trying to lecture me. She talked to her dad about it. He tried to kind of tell me that was the wrong thing. Her mom kind of tried to tell me it was the wrong thing. But they hadn't realized that I had gone down this path, that I was researching it. It wasn't a 1-day research. It wasn't a 1-week research. And on the 45th day, I want to say, is when I decided to jump in. And then I kept on reading and learning as I was going through it, because I wanted to see what I could eat, what I was cutting out, what was I going to be losing, what were kind of some of the effects I was going to have. And as I was learning and I was going through it at the same time, and then my wife started to follow and read and see everything, and little by little she join me, right? She started doing it. She started to like, yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense. And
I'm not 100%.
You're not 100%, but
But-
like I said, 80% is better than no percent, you know, or you being 50% and me being 50. That could have cost a lot of fights and arguments.
Yeah. And
Right.
like we give the kid every morning, the kids have a high protein breakfast because I need their little brains jump started the right way.
I know our oldest daughter, she was like, try that, go for it. You know, if you think it's gonna work for you. I told her, I think she was the only person that was like, try it, like it might work, because she would hear me complain about, you know, my pains, you know, or you know, being with my pills. So, but yeah, well, we rambled on long enough. There's so much stuff. If you guys want to hear more, we'll get more graphs, more stats. You guys want to reach out about it and learn about it more.
I'll post links online. I've been posting links. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but when we have things that we've been researching, I have been posting the links on the details for the episodes. So we'll continue to do that because there is information here that we've researched.
Basic information.
Yeah, we're just touching
our little experience with it. If you hang around and listen to it, you know, awesome. Thank you. I hope we didn't offend anybody or your lifestyle by this, but you know, just have an open mind, and this is our journey. You know, this is our point of view. We're not trained medical, you know, people. I'm not a nutritionist. You know, this is just my experience. Has been my journey.
Yeah, what we've read, what we've learned, what we've tried, and how it's affected us.
Yeah, I just gave you a couple of names of people that helped me through the journey. You know, like people that I never had conversations with them. Those are good people to follow that have, you know, points of view, whether it be funny or educational, but they helped. And
just find your own group of people.
Learned, yeah.
You know.
And it has been awesome. For me, it worked out. I love it. I'm happy. If you decide to go this way, know you're not alone, and know kind of like where you're going to go. And you can reach out to us. Yeah, and know that, you know, don't worry about what other people think or say or try to make you doubt, you know. It's
how
a lifestyle.
You feel.
It's not really a diet. It's a lifestyle because it affects your lifestyle. It affects how you see things, how you do things, and in the long run, you'll be healthier. You'll be more active, and you'll save a whole lot of money actually because you're not eating out.
You're not going to eat out as much. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my point, I was going to say, if you have doubt in anything in life, you try it. And then the doubt is taken away. Or like if you have a question, don't be afraid to ask it, because then you'll never know if you didn't ask, right?
Right.
It's the same idea of like if you have a doubt on if something works, try it. Either it'll work for you or it won't work for you. If it doesn't work for you, you move on. But then at least you'll never have that doubt.
Right. Yeah. Was one of those things that one of the guys I love was like, oh, it doesn't taste good. Oh, he's like, yeah, well, who gives it? Yeah. You know, it's like, it's for your own good.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what we tell the kids.
Yeah. You got to do what's good for you.
It's good for you. Just eat it.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to live a long life and have a heart attack and leave your family behind, then continue to eat junk food.
There are genetics out there, right? People
you're right.
smoke and drink for all their life and they live forever, right?
Yeah, that is true.
What do you say? It's because neither God nor the devil want them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you taking the time to join us yet one again on episode 13.
Yes, 13. Lucky number 13.
Yeah, lucky 13. And I know some of you are going into spring break, so have fun with your loved ones and your family. And ours will be, I guess, a week after everybody else will start a week.
No, ours start not this week, the next week. Why are some people going off this week?
They already started. They're already
our kids
right
don't
now.
Start for another week.
Yeah, so this coming week, this is our kid's last week.
And our eldest is going away the second week of his vacation.
Yeah.
To go dog train.
Oh, so that'd be awesome.
Uncle. He's supposed to take our 1-year-old with him, our 1-year-old puppy with him. See if we can get him to listen better.
I'm pretty sure Uncle's going to train both of them.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, I mean, it's a good experience.
Yeah.
He's done it a couple times now. So.
And maybe we'll talk about that one next time.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Have a great week.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.